Hello, magical being, and welcome to another episode of the Devotional Drip, a series where you are invited to experience and explore a deeper, more devotional relationship with your higher self across the altars of your personal and professional life. My name is Sarah. I'm a higher self embodiment doula, coach, and consultant for visionary entrepreneurs, change-making creatives, and heart-based leaders and light workers across the globe who are ready to awaken, transform, and embody their higher selves. Today, I come to you on the Cancer full moon, and we are talking all about being a safe, nurturing, and courageous space for yourself. Before we dive in, I'm going to invite you to set the tone and the frequency for this conversation by making sure that you're comfortable, making sure you've got some water, you've got something to write with. Maybe you want to light a candle, invoke your higher self in the space. Take a moment to just take 5 to 10 deep breaths and just anchor into your body, connect to your breath so that you can receive this transmission through your body and not just solely at the mind level. We want to encourage that your whole being gets to soak in this message. And it is always my intention that you leave this transmission feeling inspired and invigorated and convicted in your ability and capacity to deeply, deeply care for yourself and resource the nurturing, divine, loving, creative, genius energy of your higher self in any and all moments. So go ahead and pause this video and do what you have to do to create some space for yourself. And if you're ready, we're just gonna jump right in and make it happen. So I want to start this conversation by inviting you to connect to your own inner mother. So you can connect to your own inner mother as an expression and a facet of your higher self. You can connect to your inner mother by connecting to the divine mother or the goddess or the source, if that's a part of your practice. You can connect to the archetype of the mother in whatever way feels really authentic for your being. Everyone's going to have a different pathway and process to connect to this energy within them. So just take a moment to connect to the mother and maybe even write down a few things in your journal, like what does the mother hold for you? What qualities of the mother do you feel connected to? What qualities of the mother could you use some more connecting to? What do you feel like you need in relationship to your connection to the mother? Maybe you are a mother watching this. And so perhaps what is your connection with embodying and being the mother for your children? And also, what is it to mother and parent your own consciousness at the same time? What do you need in order to feel cared for? Not just the one that is giving the caring. And to embody the mother doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have children. I often embody the archetype of the mother as someone who has animals and who cares for a lot of people within my community. So, I just want to put those things on the altar first around the mother and just introduce that energy into the space, because that's such an important foundation to what wants to come through today. And I pulled quite a few cards. I've got like 13 cards here. And usually I only pull a couple for the devotional drip. So I'm not going to go into each of the cards specifically. Instead, what I'm going to do is use the energy of the cards that came forward, as well as our topic today, which is being a safe, nurturing, and courageous space for yourself. I'm going to use all of that to intuitively channel and just allow whatever needs to move through and be offered in this space to move through and be offered in this space. So starting this from our connection to the mother, because Cancer is deeply connected to the mother, and it is the Cancer full moon. And we can't talk about being a nurturing space for ourselves without connecting to the nurturer, without connecting to the mother, who is also the protectress and the teacher and the creatrix. The mother grows life in their womb and births that life into being, whether that be the actual womb space or the proverbial womb space where you're someone who is birthing projects as babies out into the world. So yeah, Cancer is connected to the mother. And then we also have this deep connection to the moon, the celestial body of the moon. Cancer is connected to the moon, and the moon is deeply connected to the sacral chakra, the second chakra, which is deeply connected to water and our desires and our feelings and our wants and our needs. And yes, it can look like the basic needs, like how is your body doing? How is your home doing? How are your relationships doing? How is your relationship to your vocation and your soul mission and your finances doing? So those are more of like baseline root chakra survival needs. And then we have how is your relationship to your desire and your pleasure and what you feel called to create in the world doing? That's really the realm that we want to hang out in right now, and that I'm going to invite us to hang out in for this transmission. So let's start with being a safe space for yourself. To be a safe space for yourself is to allow whatever needs to come forward to come forward. So what do you need to scream about? What do you need to cry about? What do you need to express? What feeling and emotion needs to be welcomed into the space? And sometimes you might need to, I find with myself and when I'm coaching my clients, like there might need to first be a space of stillness and grounding and anchoring in order for your being to feel safe to express. So I'm going to invite you, if you haven't already, or, we can always use a little extra dose, to come into some stillness with yourself and maybe do a breathwork practice. That's a great way to just hold space for emotions to come forward. Like, what do you need to scream about, cry about? What's come up recently? What does the being need to express? Think about being a mother to your own consciousness. And it's like the mom that holds space for the baby to just like have a fucking tantrum and cry their eyes out. And, in doing that, this little being learns that it's safe to express, that it doesn't have to shove all of its feeling and its emotion down, that it's not only welcome to, but it's normal and natural and part of life to express and have emotions and release. So that's what I want to say first about being a safe space for yourself. What needs to come up? What truth needs to be revealed? Wherever you are, is where home is. It's like home is where the heart is, right? And like you are where your own heart is, and you can be a sanctuary for yourself. You can create sanctuary for yourself in your home by lighting candles and creating a beautiful environment. And this kind of actually goes into nurturing. So let's now start to talk about being a nurturing space for yourself. You can create a nurturing space in your environment by creating beauty. You can adorn yourself in clothes that make you feel deeply loved and cared for, and like an expression of the divine, like an expression of beauty. You can touch your body and massage your body with oil, and you can feed yourself. So think about the food that you're intaking, yes, and also think about what you're intaking in terms of media consumption. What are you feeding your being? How are you nurturing your consciousness? What are you allowing in? And like being a mother of your own consciousness, what needs to be swept out? Like, what do we need to set some boundaries around? And how, and allowing yourself to receive those boundaries as also a form of self-care, as also a form of creating space for your being to actually be nurtured. It's like choosing to put the phone down and not scroll, and instead like put on the music, light the candle, lay on the ground and connect to your breath and let yourself journal it out, cry it out, scream it out, laugh it out, orgasm it out, dance it out, express it out. Which this leads me to being a courageous space for yourself. To be a courageous space for yourself is to be in the vulnerable practice of telling the truth. Tell the truth to yourself about what you actually want. Tell the truth to yourself about what it's actually going to take, what it's going to require of you. What are you going to need to devote to in order to bring those desires, those wants, those sacred, holy desires that have been divinely delivered to you into being? What's it going to require of you? What's it going to take? And how can you, just like a mother empowering their child, be a courageous space for yourself? So we've got the safe space, we've got the nurturing space, and we've got the courageous space. Out of these three spaces, I'm going to invite you to consider, what does your personal self-care plan of action need to be right now? Because self-care is adorning and creating beautiful spaces and taking the baths, and yes, to like doing our yoga practice and being in our spiritual practice and all of that. But it's also showing up for yourself in moments that feel challenging, in moments that feel difficult and confronting and triggering, and looking in the face of all of those voices that are telling you why you can't do it, or what, or here's all the obstacles, or it's sort of like when the never-ending list of blocks come forward. To be your own inner mother is to look in the face of those fears and to say, I see you, and here's the truth about this. Can you tell yourself the truth? How do we get underneath our story? We get in our bodies and we express what's there. Sometimes the self-revelation is on the other side of the screaming, crying, sacred tantrum that you let yourself have because you're being your own inner mother and you're punching the pillow and you're holding safe, nurturing, and courageous space for the truth to come forward. Yeah. I'm going to leave that there. I feel like that's a potent invitation. And please drop in the comments. Let me know what's coming up for you. What comes up for you when it comes to being your own inner mother, to connecting to the divine mother, to connecting to the mother archetype. What comes up when you explore being a safe and nurturing and courageous space for yourself, where you're simultaneously invited to express what's real for you, but then you're also nurtured towards your own potential. You don't cut yourself off at some disempowering story about what you can't do. You actually nurture yourself to the finish line, because you acknowledge and you understand from the wisdom of the mother. She's been through some shit. She understands that life is a journey and you're going to have to go through the labyrinth, and that's a sacred part of the journey. So she doesn't try to overprotect or save her children from their trials and tribulations, and what feels challenging. She holds space for her children to go through these activations and initiations into their own power, because they need to be able to go into the journey of the underworld. They need to go and, like Inanna, retrieve themselves and find themselves in the shadows and the scary places and the dark places. Like, the darkness is potential. So to cut yourself off from actually going into that space where you let yourself feel the fear and the panic and the grief and what we have labeled as dark, is to actually cut yourself off from your own power. Because through going into those valleys of your own shadow and feeling what's there, that is where you reconnect and plug back into your primordial power, and you remember that you have the right to rise. And when you are your authentic self, when you are willing to express your authentic self, here we have Perpetua, who is the saint of authenticity. When you're willing to express your authentic self, you're going to face some initiations into your power. You're going to be brought on that journey to the underworld. You're going to be confronted in your relationships. You're going to be challenged, and you're going to be invited to fiercely stand up for yourself. And that also is being a courageous space for yourself. And that happens through being in your physical body, through commanding that, like Lilith, you have a right to create heaven and earth for yourself, that it happens through the body. It happens through feeling. It happens through self-connection. It happens through being willing to let go of all you thought you knew and all of your stories, so that the truth of who you are can actually rise. Like, it's true that you see what you're made of in the face of challenge. Like, when you're climbing a mountain, you're going to see what you're made of. And so are you willing to climb the mountain? And are you willing to be a fierce champion of yourself? Like that inner mother who is rooting for their child to make it up the mountain, to make it through the initiation of the shadow integration, to make it through the moment where maybe all of your relationships feel challenged, and maybe not all of them, but maybe there's quite a few of your relationships that feel challenged. And in the face of that challenge, can you still claim your own connection with yourself? Can you belong to yourself first? Can you claim that you are a child of the Most High, of the divine? You're a child of the cosmos. So of course you have a right to be divinely supported and protected and cared for. We have Isis and Kuan Yin coming forward, who are two of my main teachers, actually, two ascended masters and goddesses that I work with very closely, that remind me that I have a right to my divine inheritance. Like, my soul committed to this journey and this life, I have a right to task my higher self and my own inner mother with what it is that I need. I have a right to state my own needs to myself and then show up for my needs, and also then ask for support for those needs to be met through my connection to the divine and through my connection to community. But you can't advocate for your needs if you don't know what they actually are. So the invitation here in being a safe and nurturing and courageous space for yourself is to connect to your needs, connect to your wants, connect to your desires, and also have, like Kuan Yin teaches, fierce compassion for yourself in the process of exploring your own needs, because it might be hard and they might not come forward at first. And it might take a moment for the truth to actually reveal itself, for you to uncover enough and get underneath enough of the layers in order for the truth to resonate and come forward. And can you remain present with yourself in that process, through the labyrinth, in the process through, like a Nana, going to the underworld to retrieve your twin sister self, your twin self, the other part of yourself that has some feelings about some shit? And can you not judge the part of yourself that wants to scream and cry and make some noise? What do you need to speak? What have you been shoving down into your body that's ready to just be released? Be a safe, nurturing, and courageous space for yourself in the way that you let yourself, just express what's actually there. Little throat chakra clearing for me. There's always a blessing in the transmission. My robe is also like actually falling off, which is why I don't think I can cut my hair, because it's constantly censoring me for YouTube and Instagram, whatever their guidelines are. I'm a tits out girl personally, but until then, I'll wear a robe. Okay, so I want to just point to last 3 cards, and then we'll be done for this transmission. So I feel like I need to take a breath and a drink of water. Let's do that together. In the spirit of being a safe, nurturing, and courageous space for ourselves, let's take care of our needs. I need to like stretch out my hip, move my leg, take a drink of water, you know? I also love that like the sun is setting. It's super snowy outside. There's like over a foot of snow on the ground, and the candles are just like in the background. And after this, I'm going to go get into some more movement practice and let myself express, because guess what, witches? This is vulnerable. Like committing and creating the devotional drip is so incredibly vulnerable. But I am devoted to being a safe and nurturing and courageous space for myself. So I'm going to follow the call to embody my higher self and create these videos for you. And that's me being a safe, nurturing, and courageous space for myself. Like I had the vision for this series, and now I'm in the active process of creating this series. And it is incredibly vulnerable, and it requires so much courage to be a channel for a living, which a lot of my clients are also channels and coaches and intuitives and healers. Like that requires so much self-trust and self-affirmation and self-permission. And you better be your own mother. You better know how to take care of yourself and show up for yourself and nurture yourself towards a finish line. And if you're learning how to do that and you need support, then get the support that you need. Work with a coach, work with a therapist, work with a healer, work with a practitioner that you resonate with, that's going to help you embody your higher self and express who you are here to be, not the story, not who you learned to be, not all the projections that were placed on you, who you actually are. And I'm hearing in this moment that if you've been judging yourself, a beautiful way to start shedding self-judgment is to also stop judging other people. So be in a radical affirmative practice of other coaches and healers and artists and practitioners and teachers and entrepreneurs and visionaries and creatives and heart-based leaders and light workers that you see out there shining. Be a cheerleader, celebrate them for their courageousness to show up and create. And then watch the way that through you celebrating them, you start to celebrate yourself. And then through celebrating yourself, you start to celebrate other people, because you get what it takes to show up this fiercely for yourself. So I do want to touch on these last three cards, but I also just want to re-anchor into being and connecting to your own inner mother and connecting to that divine mother who is always rooting for you. After these 25 minutes of exploring this together, maybe take a moment, pause, and journal on like what now feels clear or possible that didn't before. What pain or tension has been soothed? Have you had any aha moments? Has anything like, what has really resonated for you? And how do you now feel convicted to connect to the essence of your own inner mother? And how do you feel connected to becoming a safe, nurturing, and courageous space for yourself? What specifically is your task right now? Listen through the heart. Don't listen through the mind. Listen through the heart. Let it pour out onto the page and don't judge what comes forward. Again, we're being safe, nurturing, and courageous spaces for ourselves. We're not judging what's coming forward. We are affirming radically whatever comes forward because you are learning how to express what is real for you. And that takes time. And that takes commitment. And it also takes being able to withstand the temporary discomfort of the vulnerability. If you feel uncomfortable, make love to it. That discomfort is your friend. That discomfort is your invitation to show up regularly and create a practice. So if journaling feels uncomfortable, if revealing your own heart to yourself and your own emotions in your practice feels uncomfortable, then great. It's a practice, and discomfort shows you where you're ready to build familiarity and strength and devotion and intimacy. So it's good news. It's all good news. How can you receive whatever's coming forward as the best news, as the highest invitation, as evidence that you are divinely cared for, looked after, and protected in all ways, always, no matter what, unconditionally. Unconditional means unconditional. No conditions. There is no condition where you would turn your own back against yourself. That is what it is to be a safe, nurturing, and courageous space for yourself. Okay, last three cards here. We've got gemstones, we've got perennial, and we've got pillar. So, Spirit, how do these want to come through? So let's start with pillar. Through being your own connection to heaven and earth, through being the channel and the convergence point through which earth and heaven meet, through which matter and spirit meet to have a human experience, from that place of knowing who it is that you actually fucking are. What do you feel called to start planting in your life? Like planting in your life, and also I'm hearing like the roots that need to be nurtured. What are you nurturing? What are you planting? What are you giving the waters of your being and your attention to, so that whatever you're creating now is going to reap benefits ongoing in the future. Perennial plants show up over and over again every year. So perhaps thinking about what are you committing to this year in terms of being a safe, nurturing, and courageous space for yourself? What are you committing to at the top of this year, creating right now, that is going to show and bring harvest not only over the next year, but over the next couple of years? And I'm hearing in this moment that this may actually be the moment for some of you to really commit to the work of personal development and personal transformation and creating a spiritual practice and a self-care practice, and really digging down deep and going to that next layer of self-devotion and higher self-obedience, where you are making shit happen in a way that's going to create ripple effects out into your life for days and weeks and months and years to come. Now, I'm not saying this to put pressure on whatever you're feeling called to do, express, and create. I'm saying this to almost it's like I'm seeing like extra light and energy being infused around what you're doing. So it's almost to like elevate whatever it is that you're doing right now. Like if it feels repetitive, or it's like you're having to recommit to something that you've committed to in the past, that it's like, oh, here we go again, this thing that I've struggled with that I'm going to try to commit to again. Like, be so compassionate with yourself and understand that you're doing this for the long game. Like nurturing happens for the long game. We're not after the immediate quick fixes. We are after the kind of devotion and presence with yourself that over time is going to reveal the gemstones every year, every day. Like, what are you committing to that is going to create changes in your day to day, week to week, month to month, year to year experience of yourself? When you go through personal development work, when you commit to personal transformation work, when you do the courageous journey of embodying your higher self, like, you are creating long lasting change. So get into this shit for the long game and let yourself know that you're in it for the long game. So when you don't immediately see a result, and I know there's a lot of neurodivergent and ADHD folks within this community, same. Like, when you're constantly seeking like the dopamine hit, it's sometimes then more difficult to really hold perspective and honor the long game. So drop the immediate need to be validated in what it is that you're doing, and let your results reveal themselves over time. Be consistent, be your own mother, nurture yourself into the kind of action that shows and reaps big results, big gemstones perennially over time, for a long time. That is the kind of caring that I am teaching and offering in this space. We are so here for the revelations and the miracles that happen moment to moment. And also, we are here for the long game. We are here for the transformation that takes years. Some of my clients, I work with them for years. I've been working with my teachers and my coaches for years. This is a long-term, long game investment that you're making with yourself, especially when you're connecting to this inner mother piece, because there might be stuff that comes up around your own relationship with your mother and trauma around that, and the tenderness and the vulnerability that comes up around self-nurturing, because maybe you didn't get the kind of nurturing that you actually needed, and maybe you need to fucking scream about that and cry about that. I have needed to scream about that, cry about that, have orgasms about that, make art about that, write in my journal about that, hire coaches and therapists and teachers about that. Like, for real. Like, let us demystify the process of awakening and healing. All right, y'all. I think that is the transmission for today. Let me just tune in and see if there's anything else that wants to come through, anything in my notes. Yeah, my last note on here is a beautiful way to connect to yourself and your own inner mother, and your capacity to nurture and be a safe space and a courageous space for yourself, again, is to adorn yourself, clear and clean out your home, create a temple space for yourself where you really want to come sit down and do practice. Like, I'm holding my robe because it's literally about to open. I love coming and sitting at this altar. I love coming and being in my sacred space and doing my practice. And so it makes it easier when you infuse the space with beauty and intention, and you remember that you're the sanctuary, your home is the sanctuary, and you have the right to create that space for yourself. So that's a great place to start. And then from there, get into some journaling, maybe go back to parts of this video that really hit the spot for you. Look at your notes that you took while we were here together. And as always, I have provided movement prompts, journal prompts, and a playlist linked below. below at my blog. So be sure to click that and go over there and get into some additional practice to really let yourself integrate, digest, and massage this message into your being. And then subscribe so you never miss a drip. And then I'm also linking my newsletter below in the description. So if you're not a part of the Blood, Bone, and Honey newsletter, go ahead and join the coven. The newsletter always gets notification when the devotional drips release, when I have special offerings and promos and things on sale. So be sure to join the newsletter so you never miss anything coming through the Blood, Bone, and Honey channel. And you can also follow me on Instagram. If we're not connected there yet, I'm going to link that below as well, and come join the convo on Instagram. I'm going to get on TikTok. I just don't know when. It's been a process for me. So TikTok perhaps coming soon. We'll see what happens. In the meantime, sending so much love. Happy full moon if you're listening to this on the full moon, and many blessings for whenever and wherever you come to this message. Sending you so much love and many blessings for connecting to your inner mother and your higher self. Until next time, I am sending you off with all of the nurturing and the courageous energy and the ability to create safety and security for yourself in all ways, in all moments, through the power of your presence and your desire and your devotion to do so. Namaste. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Bye.